This week in WWE, Daniel Bryan medically cleared to return to in-ring action. AJ Styles maybe not medically cleared to return to in-ring action. The Ultimate Deletion aired. We'll run down the WrestleMania card, the Greatest Royal Rumble. Triple H comments on the state of 205 Live. And WWE and Mark Henry comment on Hulk Hogan possibly returning to the company. But before we get to any of that, I just want to ask, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're not missing out on any of the videos we put out at Spoiler Free Wrestling. And it also helps this channel grow and be seen by more people. Okay, Daniel Bryan. On Tuesday, WWE released a statement saying that Daniel Bryan has been medically cleared to return to in-ring action almost 2 years to the day where Bryan gave a retirement speech at a live event in Seattle. Not sure if that was Raw or SmackDown, but it was in Seattle. There was a WWE documentary on it on the WWE network. Now, 2 years later, he's evaluated by the leading brain guy, the leading concussion expert, neuroscientist, neurologist. He was evaluated by Dr. Robert Cantu, who's a leading neurologist, leading expert in the field of concussion research. And here's a quote that Dr. Robert Cantu had in regards to Bryan after evaluating him. "I determined that Bryan is currently asymptomatic, has a normal detailed neurological and cognitive neuropsychological examination, normal EEG, and an MRI that showed no definite evidence of a prior brain injury. It is my medical opinion that there is no absolute contraindication to his return to in-ring action in WWE." That's a pretty clean bill of health Daniel Bryan got from the top neurologist in the world. So then that kind of begs the question, what exactly happened 2 years ago that made WWE so convinced that Daniel Bryan should never wrestle again? Well, I went back because I'd remembered that Daniel Bryan last year was a guest on the ENC Podcast of Awesomeness, I think it's called. It's Edge and Christian's podcast. And Bryan talked a lot about what happened in the days leading up to his retirement, and sort of hints at there was maybe a miscommunication, a misunderstanding of what some of the medical tests he got back actually mean. So this is just a straight quote from Daniel Bryan on the ENC podcast last year. And he's talking about a call he had with one of his own doctors. Remember, Daniel Bryan's doctors were always good with him returning to contact sports. It was WWE's doctors who looked at his history of concussions, as well as a history of post-concussion seizures. And after one test they did, which Bryan's going to talk about here, Dr. Joseph Maroon, who's WWE's head doctor, said, "Nah, we're not clearing you anymore." So here's Daniel Bryan talking about a conversation he had with his doctor after being told by Dr. Joseph Maroon that WWE won't clear him, and after he did his retirement speech. Okay, so Bryan said, "All of a sudden, one of the doctors that had cleared me calls and said, 'Bryan, what happened? Like, you ran through all this testing and everything was fine. What happened?' And I told him what had happened. I said, 'They found a lesion on the temporal peripheral region of my brain.' And he goes, 'Wait, hold up, a lesion?' And I said, 'Yeah.' And I don't know what a lesion means to you guys, but a lesion to me means you have a cut, right? Like I have a cut on my brain." And he goes, "No, a lesion in medical terminology is a very vague thing. It just says something is there, right? Like, we don't know what it is. So we call it a lesion in the temporal peripheral region of your brain." So now it seems Bryan is not quite as sure about the diagnosis as he once had been. And remember, this is occurring just days after his retirement, which is 2 years ago now. So Brian's talking about the testing that he did, and he says, my reflexes in the temporal parietal region of my brain are slower than what they would expect, right? So in the report, they put lesion on the temporal parietal region of the brain. Brian said, they're not slower than, say, your average person, but they're slower than, like, your MMA athletes or people that they test for a lot of this kind of stuff, right? So I just have average reflect time, and I'm just like, oh no, I don't think they understand. I'm just an average person. I'm not a real athlete. There's this thing, and it's just like, oh no, there has been this huge misunderstanding, right? So basically what Brian's saying, and Brian's not a doctor, and Edge and Christian aren't doctors. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I'm not a doctor. So, but based on what Brian's saying here, he's saying that he did this testing that showed, in comparison to other people they've tested, his reflex time that is associated with this one region of his brain is slower than for some the baseline for some college athletes. And they found a lesion in that part of the brain. However, we've now found out a lesion is sometimes just the name you give to something if you don't know what it is. So when you take Brian's comments and then you compare them with Dr. Robert Cantu's comments about saying there's no evidence that Brian has any injury to his brain, you kind of got to wonder what exactly went on here with his diagnosis that ended up taking him out of the game for 2 years. It seems like there was one test that got understood in different ways by different people. But the recent testing that he's done was enough to convince WWE's doctors as well to say, all right, just let him go. But also, if you're Dr. Joseph Maroon and you've got Daniel Bryan and his team peppering you with all these tests, and WWE's sending him to more people, say, okay, if you get tested by these people, and then Dr. Joseph Maroon, if Dr. Maroon was going to continue to not allow Bryan to wrestle, he'd have to explain why he disagrees with the leading neurologist in this field. Not that Dr. Joseph Maroon isn't a top neurologist that's consulted by all these professional sports leagues, but Dr. Robert Cantu is definitely that. So Dr. Joseph Maroon, to continue to not allow Bryan to wrestle, he'd have to explain why his diagnosis is different than Dr. Robert Cantu's, and I just don't think he's going to do that. But Bryan does have a long history with concussions. By his own admission, he's had as many as 10 documented concussions, and he says more than that. And by his own admission, he's had post-concussive seizures, which are a serious consequence of concussion. So by no means is Daniel Bryan given a perfect bill of health here. He has a long history with concussions, and by the sounds of it, he's going to be changing up how he works, how he wrestles, to a more safer style. It was in the Wrestling Observer newsletter this week that Bryan is believed to have been studying tapes of the 2018 New Japan Cup winner Zack Sabre Jr., who utilizes a safe submission grappling style, and that this would be more this would be a better style for Bryan to adopt when he comes in. Not that he doesn't already or hadn't already been doing that stuff beforehand. So Daniel Bryan being cleared to return to in-ring action, clearly the top story of the week, maybe the top story in the last 2 years since he retired from the sport. So what comes next for Daniel Bryan? We will have to wait and see. In his first appearance on SmackDown since being medically cleared to return, Daniel Bryan fired Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for attacking Shane McMahon 2 weeks ago. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn then attacked Bryan, gave him the powerbomb on the ring apron, which I don't know if WWE's ever pointed this out before, but the ring apron is the hardest part of the ring. of the mat of the ring. I don't know what it is they say. So he fired them. They attacked him. 2 weeks ago, Shane McMahon had booked Kevin Owens against Sami Zayn in a singles match at WrestleMania. However, Daniel Bryan then firing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn trumps that match being made. And they actually removed Owens versus Zayn from the official WrestleMania page. And since being fired, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have turned their Twitter accounts private too. So they're going all in with this storyline. So that's all that we know about Daniel Bryan. So far, that's all the information out there. Obviously, a lot of people really happy, both in the business and outside the business, happy for Daniel Bryan. Another injury concern for WWE that also could impact WrestleMania 34 is AJ Styles is said to be dealing with an undisclosed leg injury. They filmed a segment at WWE's house show in Madison Square Garden. Well, actually, I don't know if they filmed it. They performed it. And where Styles had to be helped to the back. He would then come out and make a run-in later in the show. But that angle at Madison Square Garden was seemingly done to explain an injury to Styles should the injury turn out to be more serious than previously thought. However, Styles has been added back to the house show schedule for this weekend. He's scheduled to be at house show tonight. He was at an autograph signing yesterday. I'm filming this on Saturday, March 25th. Styles had missed a house show in Texas on Saturday. And that's sort of what got the injury rumors swirling, is that he had missed that house show. But he's back on house shows this weekend. There was a WWE media conference call this week where Styles' potential injury was a topic of conversation. Triple H said that he did confirm that he's dealing with an undisclosed injury. However, it does not sound like he's going to miss much time. And Triple H certainly sounded confident that they will not have to replace AJ Styles at WrestleMania, though he did state that they do have a plan B and a plan C if things don't go their way. But he also said that that's almost always the case with anything that they do. Styles didn't wrestle on Tuesday. He was at the commentary table as Nakamura took on Aiden English or Rusev, one of the two. Anyway, Aiden English and Rusev were attacking Nakamura after the match, and AJ Styles came in to make the save. However, AJ didn't really get involved in the action. AJ Styles was also asked if he is worried about missing WrestleMania, and Styles himself said that he would be at WrestleMania even if it was on one leg. So there doesn't appear to be much concern that Styles will miss WrestleMania, although a confirmation has been made that he is dealing with a leg injury. Another top story this week, and a very important story for fans of Matt Hardy and the House of Hardy. As the Ultimate Deletion aired this week, it was in the main event spot on Monday Night Raw. Reaction to the segment has been nearly universally positive. Obviously, there are always going to be some people who don't like this type of stuff in wrestling, who want their wrestling more realism-based. However, the Ultimate Deletion has garnered more than 3 million views on YouTube. It was not the social media winner of the week, however, as Ronda Rousey and Dana Brooke's untelevised segment from Monday Night Raw this week was the clear social media champion, and that clip had garnered more than 6 million views the last time I checked. However, you know, if Matt Hardy can come in as half the draw Ronda Rousey is, I'm sure he'd be quite happy with that. So in the actual Ultimate Deletion match, Matt Hardy picked up the victory over Bray Wyatt and then pushed Wyatt into the lake of reincarnation, leading many to assume a change in character or gimmick is on its way for Bray Wyatt. Senior Benjamin and Matt Hardy did discover Bray Wyatt's lantern in the Lake of Reincarnation. They posted a video about that not long after the Ultimate Deletion aired. Reaction to the Ultimate Deletion did pick up some mainstream media coverage as well. The USA Today covered it, which WWE will surely appreciate. And also notable is that Jeff Hardy appeared at the end of the segment, which should confirm that WWE is not taking much or any action in regards to his most recent DUI arrest in North Carolina. So the Ultimate Deletion main eventing Raw, garnering 3 million views on YouTube, mainstream media attention. All of that has to be seen as a very good sign for this gimmick, this angle, these characters moving forward. We'll just have to wait and see what happens when Bray Wyatt, if Bray Wyatt returns, and how this storyline continues from there. But very interesting stuff. I think a lot of people talking about the Ultimate Deletion, a lot of people talking about what's next for Bray Wyatt, what is his gimmick change going to include, and how does the Matt Hardy storyline continue from here. We'll get, no doubt, some clues to that on Monday, and we'll see if this angle continues on the WrestleMania card as well. Seemingly like they could both end up in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and something could be filmed there. A segment could air. Who knows what WrestleMania has in store for Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt and Jeff Hardy and Senior Benjamin. The whole House of Hardy. King Maxwell? Who knows? All right, so let's just quickly run down the confirmed matches for WrestleMania 34. We have 11 confirmed matches, and there could be more on the way. So get ready for a long WrestleMania 34. So the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was seemingly confirmed for the first time this week or last week? Last 2 weeks, the Revival declared for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So we'll see. This will be the 5th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And as of yet, the past winners, who are Cesaro, Big Show, Baron Corbin, and Mojo Rawley, none of them have really gone on to do great stuff in the year after winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. We'll see if that changes in 2018. Then the named after nobody WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal will also take place. You'd have to imagine that the winner of that Battle Royal would be in a good position to challenge either the Raw or the SmackDown Women's Champion. And it does not appear that they'll be naming the Women's Battle Royal after another female legend. And I think we had pointed out, like, the reason that Andre the Giant is a perfect fit for the name Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal is that was Andre's match. Fabulous Moolah was never known for Battle Royals. You know, China was never known for Battle Royals. So it being the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal is fine by me. Then in what I believe is the only match, aside from the Battle Royals, that isn't for a championship, Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey will be going up against WWE's power couple of Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. I mean, what can you say about this match except for so far you have to call Ronda Rousey a big success. The mainstream media attention she's been able to get for WrestleMania combined with her social media numbers. Now it'll just be a story of what's next for Ronda Rousey. Can she get her, assuming she can get her revenge on Triple H and Stephanie? Although, could you imagine if Triple H and Stephanie win this match? So it'll be interesting to see like I'm interested in Ronda Rousey post WrestleMania 34. Like when she starts getting into the women's divisions. That's when I think it'll be really interesting to see how WWE handles it. Like, will Ronda Rousey lose a match before she wins a title, even gets a title shot? There's so many things you could do. You could have Ronda Rousey initially struggle in her wrestling career. Have certain things that happen in wrestling that don't happen in MMA that Ronda in storyline has yet to learn how to handle. Like, say she's got the armbar on somebody and somebody gets to the ropes. Well, they don't have rope breaks in MMA. So that's, will Ronda know how to handle this? Pinning somebody's shoulders to the mat in 3. That's not an MMA thing. That's something Ronda's going to learn. Like, what if that's something Ronda can't get right away and her shoulders are pinned to the mat and she's got to learn how to kick out? I don't know. And then the other option is they could have Ronda come in and just judo flip everybody, put them in an armbar, and Goldberg her way to a world championship and build up big matches for her after that. There's lots of different ways they could handle it. And it'll be interesting to see which way they go. I also would imagine Ronda Rousey has a lot to say in how she's used. So that could come into play too. Ronda seems like somebody who's going to want to earn respect, not be pushed so hard that the fans there's a backlash from the fans. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. The Raw Tag Team Championships are also on the line at WrestleMania as The Bar will defend against Braun Strowman and a mystery partner. Kurt Angle has said that Braun Strowman will need a partner for the match. However, we've been given no hints as to who that partner might be. In the United States Championship match, it's now officially a triple threat as Randy Orton will defend his newly won United States Championship against Bobby Roode and Jinder Mahal. The Cruiserweight Championship match is now confirmed as well. Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander are the two who will meet in the finals. The Intercontinental Championship will be on the line. The Miz, who as of this recording is 33 or 34 days away from passing Pedro Morales' record for most days spent as Intercontinental Champion. I have up on the website at spoilerfreewrestling.com, we have a newsletter up which has got a breakdown of all the championships in WWE, and we kind of break down the records Miz is about to break as well. Then the Raw Women's Championship match. This was made official this week as well. And we will finally get Nia Jax challenging her best friend from developmental, Alexa Bliss. Nia Jax has yet to win a championship in her WWE career. I'm not sure. And my Amazon Echo just went off because I mentioned Alexa Bliss. In the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania. By the way, Amazon Echoes are great. In the WWE Championship match, AJ Styles, barring injury, but again, it doesn't sound like he's that injured. But barring injury, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. It'll be a rematch from their Tokyo Dome show from a few years ago when Nakamura successfully defended the IWGP Intercontinental Championship against AJ Styles. This is the match both of these guys have wanted ever since they came to WWE. The SmackDown Women's Championship match will be Charlotte Flair defending against Asuka with Asuka's winning streak on the line. And then in the WWE Universal Championship match, Brock Lesnar defends against Roman Reigns in a match they've been trying to do for 4 years now. If this match closes the show, it will be the 4th straight year that Roman Reigns has closed the show. And if he wins, it'll be the 3rd year in a row he's won the final match to close WrestleMania. So that is your WrestleMania 34 card. Now, in terms of TakeOver New Orleans, which will happen the night before, there has only been 2 matches officially announced. The rest, I'm assuming, will be announced as episodes of NXT television air. I won't give away any spoilers of that. For those of you who want to continue watching NXT without any spoilers, like me, I don't want to watch that. So the only matches announced so far, Shayna Baszler is going to get another shot at Ember Moon's NXT Women's Championship. As I say that, I realize I'm not sure if it's officially announced on NXT TV, but it's pretty much official based on NXT television, and definitely official for TakeOver New Orleans. Aleister Black will challenge Andrade Cien Almas for the NXT Championship. That'll be a big match. Almas's NXT Championship reign has been good. I think a lot of people have enjoyed watching Andrade Cien Almas really grow into his character and really come into his own as the NXT champion. But then there's Aleister Black, who is very popular and who has been booked very strong leading up to TakeOver New Orleans. So that should be an excellent match. And it's anybody's guess who comes out of that match with the NXT Championship. Just wanted to comment a little bit on the Greatest Royal Rumble event, which is scheduled for April 27th from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. It will air on the WWE Network. This was confirmed by Roman Reigns on the Jim and Sam show, as we mentioned when it was announced. So either Roman Reigns is correct and it will air on the network, or Roman Reigns has misunderstood something. Those are the only two options. So I'm assuming that Roman Reigns saying it'll be on the network is not something that happened by accident, and this will air on the network. However, that hasn't been announced on WWE programming yet. Most likely the reason for this is they don't want to make too big a deal of it until after WrestleMania is over. Don't get fans looking forward to the 50-person Royal Rumble while they've got WrestleMania to look forward to. So Triple H was on a media conference call earlier this week, and he made some comments about this event, the Greatest Royal Rumble, that I think were kind of telling about how exactly this event came together. So Triple H said, "I think we are still kind of exploring the options on it," referring to the Greatest Royal Rumble. "It's a little bit of a work in progress," which is a favorite phrase of Triple H's. "This event sort of came together very, very quickly. It's 3 weeks after WrestleMania, which you can imagine putting on a week-long spectacle of that nature and following it up 3 weeks later in Saudi Arabia with a stadium show takes some logistical work. We are still working through the process, and I think you'll see some announcement coming up here as we continue to get further in the card, what the show is and all of that. I think you'll see announcements of how, where, and when." So basically what Triple H is saying without actually saying it is, just give us till after WrestleMania, we'll explain everything. But this thing has come together on short notice. Now, it is a deal, and again, they haven't officially said this, but you can kind of read between the lines a little bit. I'm assuming that the government of Saudi Arabia approached WWE about this. So what we know is that this show is a part of a 10-year agreement the company has signed with the Saudi Sports Authority, which is kind of like the Athletic Commission, right? So the deal is part of something called Saudi Vision 2030, which is a social and economic program designed to move the country away from a fossil fuel dependent economy. So some of you will know, like, Saudi Arabia got super rich off oil. But now, as the planet's kind of moving away from oil, Saudi Arabia wants to diversify its portfolio, to quote a Wu-Tang Clan financial philosophy. If you didn't watch the Chappelle Show, you won't get that. So they're doing all these things to move Saudi Arabia away from oil, and one of these would be to have the, bring in all of these big events that can draw tourists to your country, that can be a boom to your economy. So it's different little programs like this the country is trying to do to increase the revenue they make off other industries. So so they've signed a 10-year commitment with WWE to come in and throw these big shows and things like that. So they signed this big... So it's something that WWE has signed because Saudi Arabia, I'm assuming, has paid them a boatload of money. So that's why they've committed to this big show just 3 weeks after WrestleMania. Now, they did make one announcement about some of the other matches which will take place on the card this week. They announced 7 championship matches will take place in addition to the 50-person Royal Rumble. So already you've got 8 matches committed. You've got 7 title matches and a 50-person Royal Rumble. This is already a huge event. It's at a stadium. Now, controversially, they named the 7 championships that will be defended. And they are the 7 male championships that exist in WWE and neither of the 2 female championships. So, we're starting to see that it looks as though female performers aren't going to be taking place, aren't going to be performing at this event in Saudi Arabia. However, we saw what WWE did in Abu Dhabi last year, having Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss wrestling in kind of the first female wrestling match in the country. Impact Wrestling in Abu Dhabi. Impact Wrestling claims that they held a women's match in the country. However, theirs was a closed taping, like it wasn't open to the public. And so it wasn't like, Anyway, there's some haziness there, but it was the first female wrestling match that was open to public spectators, whereas Impact Wrestling show, they held like a filming of a TV show and brought in a studio audience. So it's a little different. So that's the greatest Royal Rumble. Triple H also commented on the state of 205 Live this week, which I thought was interesting. So some of you will know that after Enzo Amore was fired from the company, Triple H then took over booking of 205 Live. It had previously been run more by Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was far more hands-on than he is being now. And so once that happened, they declared they would have a single elimination tournament to determine a new champion. Triple H took over from booking and kind of let word leak out that 205 Live would now be based more on in-ring action as opposed to sports entertainment. And I think a lot of people, certainly people who are on our site or following this YouTube channel, were in favor of changes being made to 205 Live. So here's some quotes that Triple H said to PW Insider this week about the state of 205 Live. He said, "Look, it went in a direction after the Cruiserweight Classic. It went in a direction that was believed to be the right direction, and then fans told us it wasn't the right direction. So we've changed course. They told us they didn't like vanilla, so we went to chocolate. They told us we're digging the chocolate right now, so we're going to stick with it." And I think that's the exciting part of, the great thing is we can turn on a dime and we can deliver to people the things they want to see. I love that the person who is translating these quotes, I believe for PW Insider, managed to leave in the, part of, and all the ... You can kind of leave those things out. So Triple H continued, "Sometimes it may take a little bit to get rolling. Sometimes it might happen immediately. It just depends. I feel like we're heading in a good direction for 205 Live right now. NXT is firing on all the cylinders. I think we're gearing up to head into WrestleMania season with a lot of guns blazing, and it's an exciting time." 205 Live has been great ever since Triple H took over. I thought the tournament matches were fantastic. Specifically, the semifinals I thought were really fun because you didn't know who was going to win, and there really was so much on the line. The winner goes to WrestleMania, and unlike with John Cena, the winner really goes to WrestleMania and the loser really doesn't go to WrestleMania. So I thought that was fun. So watching Cedric Alexander and who did he beat? Well, Cedric Alexander and Roderick Strong. You're like, who goes to WrestleMania? Watching Drew Gulak and Mustafa Ali. You're like, who goes to WrestleMania? So that should be fun. 205 Live is definitely on my watch list at the moment. And finally, the final story I want to talk about, there had been some rumors swirling around that WWE and Hulk Hogan had been in contact. And of course, Hulk Hogan has been publicly stating he wants to return to WWE. He wants to end the excommunication of him from the WWE universe. For those that are not aware, he was sort of blackballed from WWE after leaked private audio conversations featured Hogan making racially insensitive comments. Now, Mark Henry, who, by the way, was announced for the Hall of Fame this year, TMZ reporters caught up with Mark Henry not long ago, and they asked him about Hulk Hogan returning to WWE. And Mark Henry said Hulk Hogan would only be able to return to WWE if he apologized to every black wrestler in WWE. Probably just apologize to all the wrestlers, you know. So WWE released a statement regarding the rumors about having contacted Hulk Hogan, and here's what they said. We have had discussions with Terry Bollea, aka Hulk Hogan, about how he can help others learn from his mistakes. However, he is not under any contract with WWE. And Mark Henry was on Busted Open Radio, which is a Sirius FM, XM radio show that sometimes Bubba Ray Dudley hosts and other times he does not. And so Mark Henry spoke on Hulk Hogan again. And I thought his comments were really revealing both about a potential return for Hulk Hogan and also in regards to how situations like this are handled in the industry. And I really liked a lot of what Mark Henry had to say. So Mark Henry was talking about how Hulk Hogan appears in an upcoming HBO documentary on the life of Andre the Giant. So Henry says, there are leaked videos of the Andre story on HBO coming up. On the 29th is the opening in Los Angeles, and he's in it. He's talking about Hulk Hogan. Not Andre the Giant, though he is in the documentary as well. It's kind of a deal where you have to accept it. He's a public figure. It doesn't mean that everything that he's done is forgiven. You just got to take the good with the bad and see how you could help the situation. I'm sitting on the, and this is important, chair of the delegation, and they're not ready. Now, a lot of people reading that statement have gone, what delegation is this? I've had many talks with dozens of guys, and the consensus is there's a lot of work to be done to heal that wound and to fix that wall. Okay, so what delegation is this? Henry continued. The delegation is pretty much all of the more established African-American wrestlers in the country and in the world for that matter. Every promotion. There's not a wrestling promotion that doesn't house someone from the delegation. Okay, this is all new stuff. So there's a delegation out there who I believe are discussing what Hulk Hogan could do to redeem himself in this situation. I thought this is fantastic news that there is a group of people looking at this situation and not just looking at it from a sense of Hulk Hogan was a public figure who said terrible things. You know, you can't be like, okay, you can't say anything like that, but it's especially worse when it comes from somebody like Hulk Hogan, who is supposed to be a role model. Like, I know he's not, but like he's supposed to be. And And WWE's got to take that serious because they have a lot of fans who are kids. And so in a way, a lot of what they do is make role models. So when one of their role models goes out and does something that you definitely don't want kids to learn from, it's a delicate situation to handle. And it appears there are discussions behind closed doors that have nothing to do with WWE or that aren't from WWE or aren't that we know of WWE related, that they are discussing, okay, how do you take a situation like this and turn it into a positive? So Henry kind of talked more about what somebody like Hogan would have to do in a situation like this to redeem themselves, to move forward in a way that helps ensure that somebody else isn't going to make these same mistakes, right? So Henry says, there's going to have to be more community service and outside work. Like talking about like what does Hogan have to do? Support for programs and even creative programs that deal with diversity in the workplace. I don't process everything like everybody else. I believe that everybody should be given a second chance, but I also believe that you have to own your own issue. To own your issue, sorry. Whatever the issue is, you got to try to make closure on everybody else's behalf, not just yours. I thought that was a great statement. So it sounds like, and this may never happen, but it sounds like there's a group of people, a delegation, if you will, who are trying to determine how can you take somebody who's made a horrible mistake, who has been a public figure and said things that have a negative impact on society. How do you take positives out of that? How do you work within that situation so that it leads to less people doing the same thing and more diversity in workplaces like WWE and things like that? So it seems like Mark Henry's on the ball, and I trust Mark Henry. Mark Henry's a smart guy. He's been in the business for 20 years. He's super respected. Nobody says a bad word about Mark Henry. Have you ever heard a bad word uttered about Mark Henry? So I like the idea of Mark Henry in this type of role for WWE as sort of, now that his in-ring career has maybe not officially come to a close, but he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame, and maybe he will take on this role as a community service liaison, I guess, some type of public figure for WWE. I think that would be great for Mark Henry. But that's the last story for this week. I think we've covered quite a bit. If you check out our website, spoilerfreewrestling.com, we've got all the results from WWE this week, as well as our ranking system is up. We utilize sort of a UFC type ranking system for all the WWE brands. A lot of people say that it helps them follow just exactly what's going on in all of WWE's divisions. And I do want to ask before we sign off for the day, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're not missing out on any videos we put out from Spoiler Free Wrestling. It also helps this channel grow and be seen by more people. Thanks again, everybody. I'm the Guy from Spoiler Free Wrestling.